You know, technology is only so good when it works, and I wonder which AI has attacked Stewart's computer to stop the music. Because, when the music stops, ladies and gentlemen, that's when people sometimes tend to listen. How appropriate for today's rant that maybe with no music, people will listen a little bit more to, to Donald Trump when the man says he's going to get stuff done. But no, what ends up happening is we have to continue to divert the noise. We have to continue to find a way to get rid of the man who's changing life as it is. Love him or hate him, folks. He's getting shit done the way he said it would. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Rand Network. I'm David Solomon. He's Stuart Brisgell. Welcome back to another crazy edition of the Rant Network. As you can see at the bottom of my screen, this is what we do. These rants that are unedited, uncensored, unfiltered, and definitely unapologetic. Stuart and I remove the gloves every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, noon Eastern. We may banter and we may attack each other. We may argue, we may agree. But at the end of the day, it's all about our opinions and our perspectives of life and what's going on in politics, everyday culture, modern life, you name it. So sit back, folks, as we dive into yet another edition of the Ren Network. And once again, we're bringing up, oh, I have to do this. Dum, dum, dum. Trump Derangement Syndrome.
Dum, dum,
Ladies and
dum, dum,
gentlemen,
dum, dum,
unfortunately,
dum,
unfortunately,
dum,
last week,
dum.
Stuart was away. RFK was giving an interview on Fox News with three other members of his super council on health and what he wanted to do for America in terms of getting rid of chemicals in food, especially with food dyes. That Stuart, I don't know if you caught this interview. I just happened to fall upon it and I went, oh my God, what is this guy doing? He wants to make America healthy again. I mean, that's his Maha movement. And what's happening? He's getting ripped and shredded when he's proven that the dyes put into foods are highly poisonous and have hurt our kids. But what's the left and the media doing? Fighting him on every corner. Again, why? This is the Trump administration. And over the weekend, Stuart, the word came out that he's pissed at Boeing because he's waiting for his new Air Force One, just like all other presidents do, Stuart. Presidents get a new plane. He's upset because Boeing is delayed yet again. So Qatar throws in hey, we'll give you a plane. And of course, what does the media do? Wouldn't you know it? It's okay for Qatar to negotiate as a good state for the terrorists that Hamas have kept in. They're a good country. They're an ally. But when it comes up to giving him a plane, how dare you accept this gift from a rogue nation? But all in all, Stuart, as we wake up today, the stock market, as of this morning, was looking like it's sweet for one reason only, Stuart. What is wrong with this? What do the stock markets see that the rest of America is only waking up to realizing, oh crap, he did it?
David, as I sit here and sort my mail from the weekend and try and ponder with you, I'm looking at a stock market that is raging now about 3%. It's not because Joe Biden is giving an apology tour. It's not because Kamala Harris has come out of the shadows. And it's not because Gavin Newsom wants to be president of the United States. It's not because AOC and Bernie Sanders are on their private jet tooling the country, trying to blame the oligarchy because they can't say millionaires and billionaires. Now they can only say billionaires because they're both now been called out as millionaires.
Oligarchs.
Oligarchs.
Oligarchs. That's the word they
Oligarchs.
keep using. Oligarchs.
And Bernie's used that since the 1980s. It's kind of funny. And here we are with the stock market raging, trade deals with China, England, not with Canada yet. And David blames that, he just got elected prime minister, but we'll give him a pass. Britain. I mean, this is just going on and on and on. In his next 100 days, he's got a deal also now with the Houthis, a ceasefire. He's going to try and resolve the Middle East crisis. Actually, he left the United States today. And they're still trying to shit on the guy. You're right, JFK. Well, he's a lunatic, JFK. I mean,
RFK,
I just
RFK,
RFK,
RFK.
RFK. He's a lunatic. But I'll be honest with you. What lunatic wants to make the food supply better? It seems insane by definition. What bad president wants to bring world peace? What bad president wants to have trade deals that are in favor of the country represents? I know this is like hard to fathom if you're a hardcore Democrat that the president of the United States, who's not a Democrat, may actually be doing something good for the country. And the stock market, oh, how depressed it is raging, raging with every single major stock going through the roof today. Your 401ks, your retirement plans. Heck, if you put in $2,500 into the market a couple months ago, it's now $5,000. I mean, it's insane. But they still have to hate on Donald J. Trump. Doesn't make any sense to me any longer. It really isn't. You either get on the train or you're just literally the lunatic screaming on a box in Hyde Park trying to garner some attention. So, David, where do you think they're going to start blaming next? What do you think they're going to pick on next?
Well, it's really, Stuart. The thing is that it just shows you how disconnected what's happening here in this world. You know, we want conventional. We've talked about this too many times, so I don't want to repeat myself as we keep doing on this channel. But let me give you some fresh thoughts, Stuart. Okay, because I don't want to. What's wrong with the Democrats, and what is the media not doing? Well, here's what's happened: the Democrats and the media continue to crap on Donald Trump. He's bad. He's bad. He's bad. He's bad. He's bad. You look at what people are saying on the streets and in general conversations that I've had, and a lot of people are afraid to talk about Donald Trump because they're afraid of the vitriol and afraid of the negativity and afraid of all that stuff. But it's interesting. Last Friday, the new vice chair, young guy by the name of Doug Hogue. Okay, he's 25 years old. His father, apparently, according to him, David Hogue his father was a former Republican. He turned Democrat. Young guy. He's the new vice chair. And he said on Bill Maher's show, Democrats have no clue what's going on. The world is flipped. That was once the pride and joy of the Democratic Party, per him, is now the Republicans. And what we thought of the Republicans, he called Republicans assholes on air. He says, oh, Republicans are assholes. We're now the asshole. And he went out and said the reason that the Dems lost in the last election is because they used $2 billion to tell the voters that Biden's not too old. Stuart, what's happened here is there's a disconnect. Old politics, old ways of doing things, they're out the window. Now, you called RFK a lunatic. They called Elon Musk a lunatic. But sometimes it takes a lunatic or it takes someone with a little bit less than who's used to conventional means to look under the covers and go, does this make sense? And you could agree or disagree with RFK, and you could agree or disagree with Elon Musk. And yes, the methods for Doge were very, very aggressive. But look what they found. Look what they discovered. Look what they did. Look what they've uncovered. How the American people have been duped again and again and again. But what does the media and the Democrats continue to do? The old-fashioned way. Let's put up a smokescreen, Stuart. Let's cover the eyes of the voters because I don't want them to see the truth. Ignoring the perils in California. What a surprise. Ignoring that Washington State and Portland are a disaster zone. We'll ignore that because that's a damn state. That's a blue state. But let's go focus in on all the negatives in the red states. It's interesting how suddenly nothing is being said about Florida or Texas, Stuart. It's amazing because they can't find anything. But that goes to show you again and again what's wrong in the world. And yes, do I agree that Donald Trump's method of tariffs were good? No, and I still don't agree with it. And there are American apologists who will say, oh, but look at the results he did. I get it. He's going to make America great again. Super. Me as a Canadian, it hurt. He hurt my election. He hurt business here, but he's not the Prime Minister of Canada. I'm going to tell this again. He's doing what's best for what he thinks is best for the United States, and he's going to succeed. That Canada is not really at the negotiating table like China, that's not a shock to me. Because as I ranted, Stuart, while you were away, our prime minister has a different agenda that people don't agree with. He is looking to hurt the United States. That's his methodology. And people are saying that's not true. Look at what he's done. Look at the debt that Canada's collected on the United States. Look what they're trying to do. There is that. But no, what we're going to do, Stuart, is we're going to focus in on where Trump is only bad. That is the Dems. That's the left. That's the media. That's their job. No, the media's job should be a centrist move, but they don't want to. Because then what will Jem Psaki do in MSNBC? What will the folks at CNN do? What will Bill Maher have to complain about? Nothing. Their ratings will plummet. And the late night talk show host, Stuart, and The View, your favorite television show of all time, what are they going to do? What are they going to do? If they can't have Trump derangement syndrome and they can't complain about all of this, what's going to happen to their TV shows?
David, let's discuss the ratings. A few years ago, Fox News ratings started raging, and CNN started plummeting. And it wasn't the fact that the broadcasting was that much better on Fox News. It was just the methodology of not treating the audience like children and just telling the audience what's really going on. It seems to be odd. And yes, David, Mark Carney represents Canada. Donald Trump represents the United States. And that's the way it's supposed to be. And the joke, which really just infuriates most Canadians, and in fact, it's kind of silly in essence, is the 51st state syndrome. But to be honest with you, Canada needs to evolve as its own in the world as well. And Mark Carney's got to make decisions that are good for Canada. Threatening the United States isn't very prudent either, which is what Mark Carney seems to have done from the train. And why do I use the word train is because the old school political propaganda ladder was all done from the back of a boxcar on a train. And Mark Carney's on that crazy train again. And I am literally horrified to hear what Mark Carney's going to try and accuse the states of next, and really to put my friends at risk because they voted in this crazy lunatic, this globalist named Mark Carney. And the conservatives like to blame, they ran a stellar plan, but they still lost. And the liberals
How is that relevant to Trump, Stuart?
Because actually, David, let me finish. There was a commentator on Fox News from Canada blaming the Trump party.
What does that have to do with Trump?
Exactly. There was a Canadian politician on Fox News, I'm trying to think who it was, from the Conservative Party, who was blaming Trump for contributing to the dismantling of the conservative momentum and invigorating the hard red in Canada over his 51st state kind of assertion.
So one commentator, let me tell you, first of all, he did impact our election, but will the conservatives today say that was the reason they lost the election? No. But every schmuck can go on TV and say whatever they want and think that they're king shit. But the point of this rant is not Canada. The point of the rant.
No. We're just trying to make how press ends up raging on him. Now, Donald Trump. So now Mark Carney really only has one thing left in the negotiations with Canada, and that's primarily energy, which is one thing that the U.S. is lacking and the Canadians have plentiful of. So what I am absolutely puzzled is why, which is a really monolithic trade agreement, seems to be between Canada and the United States, Canada's largest trading partner. I'm just fascinated how Canada hasn't been in the top of frame with the United States.
It's
It's right
amazing how
there.
you continue, but you're again a smart guy. Let's
Mm.
slow down for just a second. Mark Carney, and again, this is where you
Well,
you're
it's
maybe
not just
watching a little
McCartney,
bit
it's the
too much.
whole government.
You watch maybe you watch a little bit too much of the wrong news. I'm not going to be an apologist for Mark Carney. I can't stand the man, and I think he's a horrifyingly terrible prime minister. And I think that he's going to screw this country by his policies and his selfishness and his arrogance. I've called it already, since the end of the election. But the reality is that when he was made the liberal leader, okay, yes, by default he was a prime minister. One, he did not have a majority in government. Two, the government would have been toppled anyways in a non-confidence vote. He preempted it and called an election. So either he's running an election or he's negotiating with Donald Trump. He can't negotiate with Donald Trump because he didn't have a mandate. And so this is the point. The people did not give him a mandate. Now he still only has a minority government. He has a quasi mandate. The vote is over, and now he went to he went to the White House last week. He spoke to apparently Trump over the weekend. Listen, I think this guy is going to ruin it. I think they made a big mistake by putting retaliatory tariffs. And as of this morning, I heard all this excitement. Look at this, because it's all about Trump derangement syndrome. It's all about kind of let's go show, to say, oh, why isn't Trump treating us like an equal? Because we're not. We're not. We're not 300 and something million versus 40 million. You're not negotiating on equal power. So I'm sick and tired of the whole business. People are booing the national anthem still. People were cheering last night at the hockey game in Florida versus Toronto, USA. Blah 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 blah. At the end of the day, Stuart, all this comes back to one thing. The focus is on how to destroy Donald Trump, not to prop up the United States. Just notice that, Stuart. The point, if all of this, what these Dems are doing and the media is doing and the left is doing, is all about hurting the United States, not to make it better. That is what they've done. That's how deranged they are. In their attacks of Donald Trump, when RFK said, we've realized that these are poisonous, we're poisoning our children. And the left goes, don't touch our food. What's wrong with you? When he just says to people, guys, you weren't really fully transparent during COVID, and the reaction of the left is, don't change how we did things. It just shows you there's no purpose of making things better. It's about winning an election. It's about destroying Donald Trump and the Republicans, Stuart. Last word to you, sir.
You know, I enjoy doing this with you. I have a lot of fun. What's my last word is? Donald Trump's done more in 100 days in office than just about any president has done in the last 100 years. And as much as they hate him, and they hate him for it, he keeps churning out deals that are not only American incredible, but for the world. I would like to say that Donald Trump unofficially will have more peace deals in his 4-year presidency than any country's had in 50 years. And I hope that there is a lot of truth to my statement, and I'm proven to be correct in a short time in the near future.
Well, amen.
As
And
as
your mouth
David,
goes,
as
your mouth to God's ears.
yep. So, David, I'd like to thank you for another good week, as we do every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But this being Monday, I apologize being a little sleepy, a little tired, but it's been a long weekend. I hope you all had a very happy Mother's Day and celebrated an incredible weekend with family. And I hope that this week be the start of a great week. David?
Amen to that. Ladies and gentlemen, on that note, we will catch you on Wednesday.